Boom, welcome to Sollu Kaburz podcast and it's IPL time and we are going to talk all things CSK. Not a CSK fan to be honest. Let me make that clear right away as you can see where my loyalties lie. Having said that, one cannot ignore the fact that CSK is IPL and IPL is CSK. The brand of CSK probably is at least 40% of the IPL if not 50%, and the Dhoni, the CSK, the legend, no matter how much you hate it, you cannot miss if there's something unusual happening with the team. One of the most consistent teams of the IPL, and it's kind of a cult. It's someone said, I think Sanjay Manjrekar has said a lot of weird things, but one thing he got it right when he's talked about CSK was CSK is the Manchester United of the IPL. And you know what? Fair point. So
Yeah,
to talk about that, Manchester United has been shitty in the recent years, and that kind of has rubbed off on CSK, especially in the last edition of IPL. So we are here to talk all things CSK, what went wrong, what makes that team right, and to help me with that is a fervent CSK fan, Prashanth, Satish, former podcaster. He has a By the Beat of the Margins podcast, which is kind of inactive right now. Hopefully, it gets back on tracks, man. Thank you very much. I love your work on the Twitter and on the podcast, man. Thank you for joining.
thank you, Najeeb. My pleasure. It's been some time. We've been planning to have this set. Finally, glad to have it.
Yep. So here's the thing. Let me get started by asking you, what were your earliest CSK memories? How long have you been a CSK fan? What were your early memories? Because if you ask me how long I've been an RCB fan, I'll just tell you a story. Like it's like the memories, it's so nostalgic when I talk about it. So what is your nostalgia? Where does it come from?
Okay. I think for starters, like majority of the CSK fans started with MS. I think
Yeah.
the love for MS just transformed into the yellow jersey. And when the IPL started, and he was the talking point. Yeah, he was the highest player in that first auction, highest
Yep.
paid player. And I was like a massive MS fan at that point of time. The
How
way
old are
he
you
just
in
grew into
2008, if I'm not wrong?
2008.
Which class were you in?
I think I'll be.
Let's just put it that way.
I think I'm 11 years old. 11 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that time, I think I've been watching IPL from right from the very go. So the
Mm,
first finals CSK played was a little bit heartbreaking
yeah.
to lose to Rajasthan in that final over. But then it's been up for the franchise since then. There was downs in the middle later on. But then my first memory started with MS, of course. That's been
Mm,
a massive factor in me falling in love with the franchise, and then the fans and how much fan base around, how much they care about Chennai is very special, and
yep.
how much the CSK team means to the fans of Chepauk is massive. They come out in large numbers. They really value a lot to adopt two sons from Jharkhand and UP in
Mm,
Suresh Raina. The
mm.
way they adore them it's what makes the Chennai fan base so special. So to be part of something like that and being to the stadium to watch games in Chennai, you just fall in love with the franchise. Last year was a little bit hard to digest because Chennai is one side that prides themselves with the consistency, and
Yep.
you haven't gotten to used to that a failure of sorts, like a season where
Yeah.
things went uphill, like since the from the inception of the league. So that was a
Mm.
little hard to digest. But then hoping for better things this season.
Did you go on that train to Pune in 2018? Did you?
No, I think I was in my hostel in my 12th grade exams. No way I was jumping out of hostel.
That's one more thing about IPL, right? It starts right in the middle of exam season, and obviously it continues a little bit into summer holidays, but it just starts bang in the middle of exam season, and you end up missing half the IPL. Or do you miss the half the IPL? You
No,
probably
you don't.
watch the match, even if it's a mathematics exam tomorrow and you have not studied any fucking thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you probably sneak in. I remember once being caught by my mother. Like, I was in the other room trying to study. I was being told to study for an exam, so I just came into a separate room saying I was studying. I just had my monitor in my house desktop just switched on and off
No
whenever she
mobile
came.
phones back then.
And
No
no, no,
bus.
no. It was very tough. So you couldn't sneak it under in like that. So I got and I sat in the room where the computer was there. I
Mm,
had the monitor off on whenever she comes to the room.
mm.
So once I pressed it and it didn't work, and she just came, and that was a scene at home. So things you do
Jeez.
for the franchise, yeah.
Yeah. So what were the strongest years of CSK in your opinion? I believe there was one time they won consecutive IPLs, isn't it? Was it 13, 14? I guess, right? And one of the
Yeah,
seasons they beat RCB at Chepauk, which broke my heart because that season Chris Gale was going
2010.
bananas and he didn't get through in the final.
Yeah, that I remember that season. I think Ashwin got him out in that finals. You guys were chasing around over 200 after that fantastic partnership between Hasi and Vijay, who just took the
Yeah.
game away from the reach. I think in a final, when you put a score of like 200, I don't think there's a lot of times way back for an opposition. KKR did once very well at Sepoka. That was a very big heartbreak for me. I guess
Mm.
they chased down 196 owing to some brilliance from Manvinder Bisla. I don't know if you remember
Yeah.
that. It was a crazy night. You didn't expect something like that, and Manvinder Bisla just decided, okay, this is my day to
Yep.
pile on agony on the Chennai fans, and that was a little hard. I think a lot of successful years for Chennai over the years, but I think my favorite will remain 2018 just
Mm.
because of the story, the feelings attached around that season. It was highly emotional. And when I miss Chennai for those 2 years when they were suspended, it was very heartening just to see other people supporting their franchises, and you are like picking places. Okay, who should I go to? Just watching IPL as a neutral. It was nice watching as a neutral, but once you don't have that feeling of support, you just tend to miss something.
Yeah.
So that was a little hard. And just to come back in 2018 against all the odds, so many
Mm.
people talking about so much stuff about the age and all the things, just to go about and get back to a consistent winning ways, just showing that where we belong, right up there, right after we are back. That was very special. I think that'll always remain my favorite CSK here.
What makes it strong though? What makes CSK the champ? Why is it so consistent year after year? Playoffs every time except the last year, of course. But what makes it consistent? What do you think are the strengths? What are they getting right that most teams don't get right apart from Mumbai?
Mumbai is a freak franchise, I tell you. As a
Yeah,
Chennai fan, as much I don't like admitting it, but Mumbai is too hard not to appreciate at the moment. They're just
yep,
doing so much things right. Any
yep,
franchise would like to take
sure,
notice of what they are doing. So fair play to them.
yep,
In terms of what works for CSK, I think one of the things that everyone who's played for CSK has told as a strength is that they back players.
yep.
You see a lot of times players given a longer run than in a usual setup.
You know who
You
should
get to
listen to that?
yeah, I think I'm talking about someone, a player from RCB. I think Shane Watson talked about it. He felt
Yeah,
more secure in the CSK environment. I think he told it in his podcast recently. He has
mm,
a own podcast called T20 All Stars.
mm,
He brings some guests over there. So he was telling that Chennai makes you feel secure. You're
yeah,
not worrying for your place every game. When you go out to play there, you're not worried about if I fail, am I playing the next game? So that sort of environment helps. And Dhoni is one captain who doesn't like changing a lot of things around. You probably have listened to a lot of MS Dhoni tosses. Yeah, we are going with the same 11. We are playing with the same 11. How many times you've heard it from his mouth? That just shows you he likes to stick around. He likes to back his play. He likes to work around the core. And if you see Chennai from 2008, there's still a lot of those core members still there with the team. And this is a very huge period. We are talking about 2018 to 2021. And we still have a lot of them from that initial year still around the core.
Jaddu,
Whether it's
Raina, Dhoni,
Raina,
I think
Dhoni,
Bravo as well for quite a long
Bravo
time.
after the
Yeah,
second year, yeah,
maybe, yeah.
something.
Stephen Fleming, of course, and even the support
Fleming,
staff is almost the same, if
yeah,
I'm
a
not
lot
wrong.
of
The ex-players became the mentors. Hasi is their batting coach, and so on.
yeah, I think that's what. If you see the environment is something they talk about, and they're very calm. You like to see like any players, they would say there was no panic at any stage, even during a season like last year.
Yeah.
One thing that was constantly being mentioned was that there was no panic at all, because there are a lot of experienced personnel in that dressing room. They've
Mm.
seen a lot of things, like they've been through. Like, someone like a Fleming works very well with MS.
Yep.
You probably think that Fleming is someone who will take the back seat and MS controls everything, but Fleming has said that in the back room we have our own shares of arguments. It doesn't come out there. That's the professionalism they maintain. When it comes to playing, they back a method that they've decided, even if they're not on the same page, but they back it.
Yeah.
Whether it's working, whether it is right now a right way to go in with the same core which they had in 2008 is a very questionable thing.
mm,
But it is something you expect Chennai to do
yeah.
because they care. You've seen like the way they care for the franchise players. I think a lot of them, anyone who comes to Chennai talks about that, the way they are treated, and especially the fans. They understand the game very well, so they are not panicking as soon as something very
It
happens. So
wasn't that Sam Billings who freaked out when they went out for a practice match and 10,000 people showed up
ah, MS,
for a,
yeah,
for a
MS. I think
practice match.
yeah, exactly. I think MS it was walking. The video went very viral. That's what that's how much they missed Chennai. Yeah, in the
Mm,
2 years and 2018, they just wanted to see everything in Chennai. They just
sure.
wanted to get a glimpse of everything. Right from the
Mm,
time they landed, they had this bus ride in Chennai. I don't know if you remember in 2018,
yeah,
open bus ride. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and MS and everyone were waving. There was crazy crowd in Chennai.
Mm,
People, the bus, practice bus took around 20 to 30 minutes to reach the stadium, which is around like 5 minutes close or something, and
mm,
the roads were rushed. So that's how much they were deprived of CSK in those 2 years.
mm,
So that's what they mean. That's what that means to them. I think the fan base is very massive to Chennai's success, and MS is someone who's been very vocal of the love and support he's been given. And when he broke down during that speech in 2018,
mm,
you remember Reina came and gave
yeah.
him some water when he was breaking down. That shows how much it meant to him. You
Mm,
see, at those 2 years at RPS, he was a little off. I would
yeah,
say he was playing. I don't think he was as deeply involved. Obviously, you can't question his professionalism, but then
yeah.
just didn't feel.
He
And
didn't
he
cry
was
for RPS. That's the thing.
he was dethroned from captaincy as well. I
Yep.
think Smith took
17
over,
was
and
16 was bad. So Smith took over in the 17 and they made it to final. But yeah, that was pretty bad.
and Dhoni's form as well was pretty
Mm,
ordinary. I think those 2 years he didn't. And 2018 was great. I think
yeah.
2018 a lot of players you expected not to step up stepped up. For someone like Ambati Rayudu to have a season like that was phenomenal, and he was back in contention with the Indian team. So players stepped up in that high effect. So it was massive. Yeah. So that's what
What?
makes them take consistency.
Yeah, but that is my theory as well. It's just first of all, my theory is that any franchise that has a strong Indian core has
Mm.
immediate advantage. So
Very,
Mumbai
yeah.
built that, and CSK obviously has that. Four internationals of you're filling four of your internationals with Indian slots, four obvious foreign internationals. So that eight international cap players right there, and the rest three is something that you can play with. So that they got right. And what went wrong in the 2020? Because the difference between 2019 and 2020 team is nothing, right? Almost nothing. And 2019 they made the final, of course. So what went wrong in 2020?
I think if you listen to Fleming talk about it last season, yeah, he was telling that when they picked the team during the auctions in 2018, so they were looking at a 3 year period, yeah. So ideally, the mega auction was supposed to happen this year, and obviously, due to the extension and the delay and all that, we have postponed it to the next year. Now
Mm,
that's 4 years. Chennai are playing with a team that they were supposedly picking in the first instance, looking at a 3 year period.
mm,
And Fleming is like, and this was something on expected lines, according to what he had to say, because the third year he expected the age to catch up. And to add to that, there was an added break, and an added break to normal cricketers who play during regularly is okay. Even they take time to struggle, and to guys who have been away from international cricket who are not amongst the competitive cricket scene, that is massive. Dhoni was out. I didn't think I don't. He didn't play after the 2019 World Cup.
mm,
Reina has not been among the international setup. Raidu was dropped from the side, Indian side. A lot of them who were supposed to were not in international cricket experience. And IPL is a totally different ball game. Like
yeah.
you can play domestic cricket, you can play in your net's backyard or whatever, but you can IPL is top quality cricket. Yeah, you're playing the best of the best.
Mm,
So you need to be up there with your game, and that takes its own toll physically as well as mentally. So, and added things, the COVID bubble and Suresh Raina missing out, that is massive for
yeah.
Chennai because it affected the balance in a massive way. You had to slot in someone like both of Faf and Watson at the top,
Mm,
and some extra foreigner just to cover up for the top order, and that meant they had to leave some holes in terms of bowling. They couldn't play
Mm.
Imran Tahir for a long period of time because of the combination.
Yeah.
Losing Harbhajan, you wouldn't think on a first look that that's a massive loss because Harbhajan has been on a decline for some time, but he's done well a lot of
Mm.
times whenever he's got come for Chennai. You see his performances in spinning tracks in Chennai, he's done very well.
Mm.
He's one of a quality IPL spinner for over the years,
Yeah.
Harbhajan, with his terms of performance.
Mm.
And what that left was that all of the options we had are wrist spinners and backup options in left arm spin of Santner and Jadeja.
Mm.
All of these guys turned the ball in the same direction. We didn't have someone to turn the ball the other way around.
Yeah.
Leg spinner brings it into the left hander, left arm spinner brings it into the left hander. There was
Mm.
only a Harbhajan, the only off spinning option who could add some variety into that spin attack. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of the wrist spinners were not quality. You're playing someone like of Karan Sharma, Piyush Chawla is a very questionable buy
Mm.
at this stage of his career. What was they looking at? And you couldn't play Imran Tahir because Raina was not there in the top order. That is massive. He's your best wrist spinner, and if you're not playing him, that leaves
So
big
that's
holes
the
in
thing, right? The Raina Tahir combination, they replaced with okay, Faf and Piyush Chawla. So the foreigner,
Piyush. Karan
yeah,
played
instead of
something.
a
Piyush
foreigner,
Chandra.
yeah, foreigner leg
Yeah.
spinner, they got a foreign batsman and they got the Desi leg spinner, which kind of didn't work out.
Yeah, and they couldn't find that right foe in
Yeah,
terms of overseas just because they had to strengthen the batting order. Ruturaj Gaikwad, I think he was supposed to start right from the word go,
yeah,
based on what Flem had to say when he came back. So that he got COVID
mm,
tested positive for COVID early on. There was a lot of things happening outside the Chennai camp, and
yes,
Chennai is one team that doesn't have a lot of things around them when they play the cricket. It's all only the cricket. So when things like
yes.
that happen, even with the most calmest of minds in the dressing room and in
In
your
the
team
bubble,
environment, it took a toll. Yeah, and it was tough, and added a lot of things went against them, and they're away from home, and a lot of noise around what happened with Reina, right or wrong reasons, the way he
mm,
was treated and all that. But then he's back this season, so I'm looking for better things this season and some of good buys in the auction as well.
that's what I felt. I felt, mentally, I don't know what space they were in 2020. You know what I mean? It's the thing with the old folks is they got families, they got kids, they got wife, leaving them away and staying in a bubble for 2 months, and with all what happened with Raina and so on, right? That must have been pretty tough. So that might have taken the toll on them, is what I felt. It's just that they were not in the right space.
And
Mm,
in terms of cricketing reasons as well, that
yes.
was a team that was declining on quality. You could
Mm,
see that genuinely a lot of people were exposed against good quality bowling. Even Dhoni didn't have the greatest of season. He was
yeah.
genuinely struggling against quality wrist spin. He
Yep.
was struggling against Varun Chakravarti. He couldn't just get going from the word go. That's what we've seen. Like Dhoni takes his time, but then he gets going. At the end, he converts it. He couldn't do that. He took his time early on, but he couldn't get his mojo right at the back end of the
Yeah.
innings. So
Yeah.
that left some big holes. And Dhoni is a massive part of the Chennai lineup, especially without Reina. He's
Mm,
someone who you look up to do the bulk of the scoring. So when
mm.
that doesn't happen, uh, you're always going to find yourself on the
That
wrong
that
side.
that that is something that didn't happen since like 2019 World Cup. Dhoni's finishing in the sense has been questionable ever since
Mm.
2019 semis,
It's been
and
some time. It's been
yeah,
on
it's
the
been quite
decline.
quite some time, right? I mean, the England match. I was there. The England match of 2019 World Cup.
Oh,
I,
wow.
I was I was there at Edgbaston, and that's where I bought this T-shirt. And
That
yeah,
would
but
have been very disappointing watching that England game. Yeah, not going about
it
it. It
was
was very
it
disappointing.
was frustrating, especially the last 10 overs. Oh my God. And yeah, that must have been the feeling in 2020 IPL as well, because Dhoni didn't finish games because he's vital. People say he's vital as a captain. He's absolutely vital as a batsman as well in their team. I mean, who else will finish the games?
Absolutely.
2018,
Mm.
right? I would just want to talk about it once again. So it's like a Netflix fairy tale series. Right from the word go, that IPL had CSK written all over it. Right from the first match where Bravo hit those ridiculous sixes against Mumbai. I mean, all the 11 stepped up in all the 11 matches. And a sweet justice of that IPL was this funda of backing players, right? It was at
Mm.
its best in the final because Shane Watson, who had done nothing in the entire IPL, the way he came off on that day, right? Mind you, that was the best bowling team of that season, SRH. And
Absolutely.
he just went bonkers, and it disappointed me, and also it disappointed my Dream 11 because I didn't back Shane Watson as well after having lost so much money. I expected him to explode at some point, but he didn't. So I didn't back him on that day, and he just went bananas. So 2018 as a fan, is that another podcast in itself? Is that another episode in
I
itself?
think 2018 is the biggest fairy tale story for me.
Mm,
Just it got even more worse when we came home after 2 years. I think we
mm,
played at home after that 2 year gap,
yeah.
and we had to go out of Chennai. We
Yep.
played our home games in Pune. If you remember,
Yep.
there was
Yep.
some
Yep. Correct.
protests during that time, and we had to shift. It's just like everything that could be against the odds was all stacked up
Mm,
just to make this a fairy tale story even greater. It just seemed
mm,
like it all were fallen in place to make this the biggest fairy tale story.
mm,
And just to see different guys step up at different junctures, beating Mumbai in Mumbai on comeback in an absolutely finished game. That was done. And Bravo had been questionable in terms of his batting. His batting has been on a decline as well.
yeah.
So, in terms of his batting, you didn't expect someone like Bravo to do that. He was totally out of the blue, and we lost Dhoni and a lot of pressure in that run chase and against the bowling attack of Mumbai's class to pull off something like that would have given them a lot of confidence
Mm,
early on in the season. A lot of chases that season, like just when everything looked against it, Dhoni pulled off one against RCB. Jadeja and Bravo and Sam Billings played that blinder at Chepauk. It was one of some of the best batting I've ever seen for a guy who's playing his IPL game after a very long time. He played with Delhi, but he didn't play in a role like that. He's
mm,
just coming in IPL game, run chase in front of a huge game crowd to guy playing his first game for the franchise to do like that. He just won the hearts of all Chennai fans on that day playing at Chepauk. Then
mm,
we moved away, and Watson was in the bad run of form. As you talked, SRS was one of the best teams in the tournament, but I think Chennai defeated them 4 times out of 4 in that season.
yep.
Two during the league stage, the qualifier one. That was a finished game as well, if you remember. Faf du Plessis played a blinder.
Blinder.
These
Yep.
were all finished games, I tell you. Just recollecting it now makes me get goosebumps just
Mm,
to see something what Faf did that towards the end of that game was finished as well. I was looking down on it, but it's like a similar feeling to this Indian team. That time anything went wrong, you just expected someone to put their hands up and come back into it. Watson during that final as well, he took 10 balls, he was zero or something,
yeah.
chasing a big score in the final. So like, oh no, hope he doesn't get out. Then he just took on their best bowler, like it doesn't matter. He took on Rashid Khan and made it look like child's play. When Watson gets going, I think no one plays Rashid Khan as dominatingly as Watson does. He
Mm,
has some excellent numbers against Rashid Khan, and Rashid Khan is one of the best bowlers in T20 cricket right now. So
right.
that season was special in a lot of ways. That's why I keep telling that is my favorite CSK season, just
It's
for the
uh,
story
it's it's
that was
what
around.
the current Australian series to Indian fan is what that 2018 series is
Absolutely,
to a CSK.
absolutely.
And for me, the best moment. Look, I as much as I hate CSK, right? That RCB match, right? That I was kind of happy, CSK won because one of the best moments for me of that IPL was that sixth Dhoni hit over third man of Siraj's bowling. Did you remember
Mhm.
the shot, the wide Yorker that he
Point.
hit?
Oh,
Of that,
I don't.
I have not seen a shot like that. I have been watching cricket for 25 years, trust me.
I
And
think
that
Dhoni plays some of the most craziest shots over that point region. He did one in the
it
World Cup
was
final as well, if you
ridiculous.
remember, against Sri Lanka. He hit one
Yeah,
versus Kulasekara, I reckon.
yeah. It was just and the hitting in that match at Chinnaswamy was just, oh my God, I could not believe my eyes. That was again a gone game that he pulled off out of nowhere. And Rayudu batted like a man he possessed. He was like he was possessed by someone. He at the tree, and that season almost got him to the World Cup, and then
Yeah,
sneaked out
it fell
at the end.
apart.
Yeah,
I think Raidu's season was very special because he played in variety of roles. It's not like he had a fixed role. He opened at times, he
exactly.
played at number four, and everywhere his consistency was never in question. To do that in one single season is crazy. It just shows you different ability the guys got to open top order one day, to adjust to the middle order one day. A middle order, these are very tough roles in T20 cricket and
Mm,
totally different requirements you need as a batsman. It was just crazy good to see things fall in place, and Raidu really looked like a man who had a point to prove. He worked really hard on his fitness, and he just got the attention
yeah,
only till Vijay Shankar was picked ahead of him.
yeah. That was a fantastic season. Like Dhoni, after winning that season, he just walked away just like that. Like nothing. Like he gave the cup away to some young bloke in the middle of that team, and then he just walked away. Like, I've did this again. And
He was
what
playing
a
with his kid. If I
yeah,
remember, he was playing with his kid.
exactly. What a factor CSK is. I mean, I just said that 40% of IPL's brand is CSK, and 70% of CSK's brand is Dhoni, isn't it?
Mm, absolutely, massive. I
Mm,
think a large amount of the fan base is down to Dhoni, and he has his ways around a lot of things. CSK in that team, a lot of calls taken. He
yeah.
has a massive say around it. I think in if you look at any franchise, I don't think the captain has as much say in any franchise like Chennai Dhoni has in CSK. If you look
Yeah.
at any other team, the management and Bill, and they have strong coaches. Not saying Flem is not a strong coach. He's a
Mm,
fantastic T20 coach. His
mm,
record speaks for himself in terms of T20 cricket. But I think Dhoni has his way in Chennai.
mm,
It's the trust the management has on him. They just back whatever he instincts. They just believe that Dhoni's instincts will come good. Whether it's right or wrong, again, in terms of a creating point of view, is always debatable.
mm,
Whether you can get a captain to do all the thinking, whether how much role a management plays will always be under criticism. But then for Chennai, they back him. N. Srinivasan backs Dhoni. He
yeah.
takes Dhoni's word for everything. And the management backs Dhoni. That's what, if you remember, there's a funny Tamil exchange, I think, after the auctions
Uh-huh.
in 2018 when 2019 when we bought Piyush Chawla during the
Okay.
auctions. They asked the CSK CEO Kashi Vishwanathan,
Uh,
what is the reason of behind picking Piyush Chawla? You have Karan Sharma, you have Imran Tahir, a lot of leg spinner. What is adding one more? He just replied that our Tala knows what we want. He just said that, and from a normal franchise point of view, that's a ridiculous
mm,
answer. You'd be mocked about it like 10 times out of 10 times. You'd be
mm,
mocked about it. Like, what is this answer? But
yeah.
then for Chennai, you never know with Dhoni who works under him. A lot of people you expect not to fulfill their potential work their best under Dhoni. He has
Yeah.
this knack of bringing their best. Someone like
Yep.
Shardul Thakur has grown under Dhoni a lot
Mm,
in terms of experience, and he's reaping his rewards now. So Dhoni just one thing I admire, he brings the best out of everyone who's playing, whether or not that person has the skill to survive for in that format. But Dhoni brings the best of his potentials. I've seen that thing over the years.
even the Shardul Thakur's batting, right? I think he won one match in that season, if I'm not wrong. Like, was it the same
SRH
match?
game, qualifier one,
Yeah, was it the
far,
same?
far.
Yeah, was it the same match where too many wickets fell, and that was a point where I felt like, what is this guy like Dhoni, right? Like he sent Harbhajan in the middle in one match, like out of the blue, just to and his
Punjab
theory,
against Punjab.
yeah, and his theory for that was like, I just wanted to disturb the plans. I mean, I was like, whoa, that is some thinking.
Yeah, you don't. He doesn't do stuff like that very often. He's very
No.
orthodox in terms of batting order and all. You don't see
Mm,
him shuffle. That was crazy move. I think that Punjab game. It was a low scoring game. I think Raina was there till
yeah,
the end, and we finished off. But then it had a strange feeling because we lost wickets up early, and there was some movement in that pitch.
yeah.
As
What would happen to CSK without Dhoni, man? What would they do? Like, if you're the franchise owner, you know that human beings get old, and when he gets old and when he retires, what are you gonna do about it?
I
With the
think
brand, with the brand, and with the fans and so on.
I think the brand will be a massive. That will take a massive blow
Mm,
with Dhoni going, but I think the fans are very loyal. It was about Dhoni, it was all Dhoni, but it has grown into a love for the franchise as such over the years. If you look, a
mm,
lot of them are Dhoni fans, but a lot of them have grown that love for Chennai as a franchise, and especially what it means to people who are playing in it. And
mm,
I think there's a lot to be done at a mega auction for CSK. There's a lot of things to be changed. They have to take a call on Dhoni because you don't want to be paying that amount for retention
mm,
because it's obvious, yeah, Dhoni is not at the best of his abilities right now.
yeah,
Anyone who's watching right now, and you're paying him in that range where you're retaining him in first place, you that comes into question again as well because you want to retain top three players,
yeah,
and that has a certain price cap. And if you look at that in terms of, you have to look at that in terms of the next 10 years or next 5 years or next 6 years or so because you're building a core with keeping in mind
mm,
that you'll only have mini auctions to fill small holes over the next few years or so.
yeah,
Like what they did back in 10 years, it's time they start forming a new core, new players. it's going to be hard for fans to adjust, but it is a transition that has to happen at some stage, and
Mm,
everyone goes through it. So I think it will go down and it will take a hit on the brand. But I think Chennai is run by fantastic people. I think in terms of running cricket, the experience in Srinivasan has is massive. He runs a lot of cricket in Tamil Nadu cricket. He has a lot of experience
mm,
in terms of running cricket. They are massive here in Tamil Nadu. If you look at what they do, and they have managed a lot of cricket. So you expect
mm,
them to come up with something really professional. They'll have their plans in place. They'll be talking to Dhoni already, and I think Dhoni himself has indicated that he'll be going into an auction to ensure something a lesser price or something like that. They've been talking. I've heard talks, so I'm sure Dhoni has that in plans as well. He's not someone who would stick around if he feels he's a liability for the team. I think he'll be the first person to walk off
mm.
without
One of the
wanting any attention.
one of the toughest questions of this podcast would be, when do you think would be Dhoni's IPL last IPL season?
From a cricketing point of view, I think this has to be his last season. I
Mm,
really hope so, because his decline has been very uh,
obvious.
obvious for anyone who's watching it. And
Mm,
I think from a CSK sentimental point of view, if you want to answer, I'd say never. You'd
mm,
want him to stick around. I would like to see him around the Chennai side for sure. I think he will stick around because this franchise means a lot to him.
yeah.
He'd be around the thinking space and the think tank space capacity. He would be there
Yep.
with the Chennai side. But in terms of cricketing point of view, I think this season is already something I feel is an extra, because he's not played a lot of cricket.
Mm,
He's not played the state league. He's not played the Syed Mushtaq. He's not played. He made himself available for the VHT. At least Raina played the Syed Mushtaq Ali tournament. That is some competitive cricket under his
yep.
belt, and Dhoni's not been playing any competitive cricket. It is
Yeah.
hard for someone, as
Yeah.
much as someone with Dhoni's abilities, to come up
Mm,
straight away and practice 2 months and get to play against the best of the best in IPL is a really tough ask. So in terms of that, I think this has to be his last season.
and you're not playing in Chepauk.
Yeah, unreal times, and
Yep.
it's put everyone a lesson, and you have no idea when this is gonna end as well.
Yep.
So
That's true. What is this? What do you what's your opinion on this youth versus experience debate? So 2018 felt like experience is the way to go, bro. But to 2020 felt like, dude, experience is just overrated. You got to have some young blood. So where do you stand on this as a CSK fan, and having these seen these things manifest with CSK in a span of 2 years? So where do you stand on this?
see, I think if you look on paper, nothing what CSK does justify themselves. Okay, like from a normal paper, if you're reading a cricket book, or if you're just looking at this from a cricketing point of view, what CSK produces in terms of result is not justifiable. You'd be scratching at how do they do it? How did they meet Mumbai last season in the first game? How?
Yeah.
Just how can this Chennai side beat a Mumbai Indians side of that caliber? Mumbai probably lose their first game every year, so you could write
Yeah.
it down to that and nothing other than that. So they defy all odds. So I think all of the seasons, the 2018 season as well, was
Mm,
like a crazy story. You didn't think every game it was against the odds. You don't expect the Chennai side to win 9 out of 10 times.
yeah.
And in terms of youth versus experience, I think it's a fine line. You can't have a team full of experienced people. It
Mm,
is just not going to work in this format of the game. It
yeah.
worked for Chennai. It's not going to work again and again. You need to have that balance. You see what Mumbai have built. That is a team that will run successful over the years.
Mm,
If you're looking to build a franchise, you have to look to build something that will work for years, not a one season method, because that will be exciting for the season.
yeah.
But you have to look to build now with a mega auction coming up. I think they'll have to look at strategies that will to build a team that is going to work over a period of time, not immediate results as such.
Mm. Who do you see as the upcoming potential CSK star replacements in the current team? Who do you think they're gonna be there and they're gonna be around forever? Who gives you hope?
Hope. I think I got a lot of hope from Sam Curran last season. I think he was
I think
phenomenal. He
he
did
is
a
a left-handed replacement of Bravo. Even I felt the same.
and he was very good. Not in one role. You see
Mm,
Sam Curran do the new ball role often, but Chennai threw him in different roles. He bowls the middle over someday, he bowls the death over someday, and you'd see the guy develop over the season as well. He liked the responsibility.
yeah.
He knew he was one guy. Dhoni was looking for wickets. A lot of them didn't step up, but he tried his best every time he got out. He was shuffled around in opening the batting some games. He played in the middle order. He made an impact against Mumbai. He played in the top order. So I think he's a real value player. And
Mm.
I think Chennai should stick with him for a long period of time because he, when used well, I think he's a fantastic cricketer. The value he brings to the team in all departments of the game. I think these are the players you need to have in a franchise because you can just make your side around
Yep.
all-rounders. If you have a one-dimensional player sort, you need to buy other sort. But when you have all-rounders, you can revolve your team around them.
Mm.
And someone like Sam Curran, he's very young. It's nice time to invest on his stocks or something. You'd say like that because he has a lot of cricket left under his belt,
Yep.
and he's only going to improve. For someone showing this potential at that age, I think he's one real hope for me. Ruturaj Gaikwad towards the end of the season showed very good signs as well
Mm.
in terms of consistency and in terms of batting. But I think Chennai needs some big players in the auction because if you look at all the middle orders, they have a lot of X factors. If you look at the Delhi
Mm.
Capitals, they have someone like
Yeah, I
Rishabh
don't know
Pant. You
what
can
happened. I was just thinking about it. Just, Sam Billings has become this good player of sorts in the last 1 year or two. So what happened with them? They let him go, or
Yeah, I think he didn't. We parted ways with him, and he
yeah,
didn't turn up for the auctions as well last year.
yep, yep,
He
yep,
wanted
yep,
to focus on his county career. I don't know
yeah.
what's the reason behind that because after that
And
one performance, I don't think
weren't you jealous weren't you jealous after seeing Mark Wood bowl in this recent T20 series?
slightly. I see tweets of all Chennai fans saying he's
Mm,
coming home in 21, 22. That was a little hard, but then it is sometimes like that. Yeah, he
yeah,
didn't. We didn't give him a lot of games. I would say I would question it, but you tend to take good decisions in haste when you have quality players sitting on the benches as
yeah.
well. So that is one thing you have to look at. But Chennai needs a lot of rebuild, especially in that middle order, because you don't have someone who could like you look from an opposition point of view. This guy can change the game. This guy can take it away
Mm,
from me. You look at someone. Mumbai have a Ishan Kishan, Pollard, the Pandyas in the middle order. DC have a Pant, for Punjab. These are guys who you're generally scared. Hey, wait, if you don't get him here, this game can run away from us.
yeah,
So Chennai needs someone like that. They need to build a brand around someone. So the mega auctions a big time because only I think three retentions or something and two RTMs. So a
yeah.
lot of good players will be in that, and they need to build. It's a lot of work for Chennai.
How did you feel about this year's auctions? So what did they do right? What did they do wrong? What were they looking for in the first place? The point that you said about they were looking for someone who can turn the ball away, so they let go of Harbhajan and they went after Maxwell, which costed us a lot, and and then they went to the second best option after Maxwell, which was Moin Ali.
Yeah, I think it was obvious Chennai had to go for Maxwell because in terms of dimension, it was one move I was expecting
Yeah,
going for Maxwell. So that didn't work out for because you guys had a bigger purse here, and in terms of purse, we could only
dumber
compete that
brains
much.
as
So
well, but go on.
I think so. It was obvious when they couldn't get Maxwell. Moin was an obvious choice. It was going
Yeah,
to happen because he was that off spinner. You get the guy who's turning away, and he was a left-hand batsman. I think he's one of the finest spin hitters in this game. He's
yes.
not been used properly, I think, in the IPL or in the England setup as well. I think Moin has been not using in the T20 side as well because he's a fantastic spin hitter, and you want him to play in the middle overs. He struggles a bit against high-quality pace. So you'd want someone like Moin. Moin is a fantastic guy. I've been a massive fan of him in T20 cricket, so I was really
Yeah.
happy to see Moin. And what not getting Maxwell
Yeah,
meant they could
you know,
go for.
the joke about Moin Ali, that innings in the Chepauk Test match in the fourth innings got him an IPL contract.
Yeah, I've heard that Moin put a show in front of the Chepa crowd just to win them, just because before he left off. So
Right.
Moin was a good guy. I think he adds a
Mm.
lot of quality into the team, and he bring that some spin hitting ability into
Right,
that
right,
middle
right.
order.
Mm.
Then there is Krishnappa Gautam because we didn't get Maxwell that price. We could afford two players who could do a similar.
Sure.
Krishnappa is a good player down the ground, and he is that off spinning option as well, finger spinning option. So currently we have two finger spinning options now.
Yeah.
So that adds variety into the Chennai bowling. I think they had a very decent auction in terms of the price they
Mm.
purse they had and what they achieved with. I think you couldn't ask much. I could they have dropped a lot of players off and had a bigger purse is very debatable because they could have some of those retentions, and to
Mm,
keep them were questionable. But then I think they didn't want to take a risk in a mini auction,
yeah,
probably worried about can they fill the holes? What if
yeah,
someone else outbids them? A lot of risks are there when you leave a big squad out in a
mm,
mini auction.
yeah.
So probably next season you could see a lot of changes. But I think in terms of auction, Moin is a very strong addition, I feel.
But do you think it was unfair because the venues changed after the auction, so they could have because this is pretty much a Chepauk team, right? You have finger spinners and all that, but you're not playing in Chepauk anymore. So don't you think it was a little bit unfair, and you think you should be a little kinder to them if they didn't go well this time?
To be honest, I think the franchises were informed about
Okay.
the change in venues and they're not going to play in the venues. I've read a lot of reports saying they were informed. We were not known in public eye, but I'm
Mm,
sure they had a clue before picking the team that where they play. Last season, last season is very understandable. It
yeah.
was not in innocent, but I think this season they knew they were playing in India, but it was very less chances. I think they were informed that they're not going to play at home.
Mm,
Chennai is a lot of depend on spinners, and our venues this time we play five in Mumbai,
mm,
four in Delhi is the games we have to win because that is where I think spinners will have some role. Then again, we play in Bangalore and Kolkata. These are like deathbeds for spin bowlers.
yeah.
Kolkata has been one of the flattest tracks over the years. Like since
Yeah.
2016 or something, Kolkata produces a lot of high-scoring thrillers. Spinners don't work
Mm,
as much as the Mumbai is another good
yeah.
batting track.
Yeah.
Bangalore is not a question to anyone what they provide in terms of tracks. So Chennai, in terms of spinners, that's why this season looks even more harder. I would say
Yeah.
I don't see chances of us qualifying into the top four as such,
Mm.
unless something dramatic happens in terms of Dhoni terms, of course.
Now all of a sudden the fast bowling options become all the more important. So a lot depends on the fast bowlers this time, isn't it? So what do you think are the chances, and why do you think they are high or low, whatever your opinion is?
I think it's a little lower
Hmm.
because Chennai is a team that's built around home. As you said, it's a Chepauk team in a
Yeah.
lot of ways because you see a lot of their middle order, a lot of their batsmen take to, like a player in a certain type of way. They're not like brash hitters. They're
Yep.
not
Yep.
a lot of guys who get going. They are very, if you see someone like Faf as well, they play a lot of calculative cricket, and Chepauk is a venue that suits them a lot. So
Yeah.
they are some team that you could bank to win 8 out of 8 games at home, probably barring Mumbai, who come at home and play like it's their home again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that is a big factor. And in terms of quality fast bowling options, Chahar has been decent, but
Mm.
he's not played a lot of cricket of late. He's been around the bench for in the India side.
Yeah.
Shardul has grown a lot. Shardul is someone I'm really looking forward to see how he goes. I think he'll have a bigger role to play this season.
Pretty key
In
for a
terms
pretty big season for him for a spot in that T20 World Cup as well.
Absolutely. I think Shardul's is a big season because now it's come to that stage where you're expecting stuff of Shardul Thakur
Yep.
because he's been in that Indian mix for some time now.
Yep.
And he's done some good things. Whether he has the skills or not is again questionable, but he's found a way. With his
Yeah.
abilities, he's always found a way to push
Mm.
above margins. He's always come out triumphant. So he's someone I'm really looking forward to see how he goes. Then
Yeah.
in terms of fast bowling option, Ngidi was really good in 2018.
Mm.
He's become a lot of bowling a lot of slow balls. I think
Yeah.
for his liking, he's someone who I rated very highly, but hasn't has fallen under the order pretty largely over the last 2 years. His bowling has not been a lot consistent.
Mm.
He's deferred to a lot of slow balls of late. I don't know what's the reasoning behind that, but Lungi and Giri is massive if Chennai have to have a strong chance because in terms of fast bowling, I think he and Shardul make pretty much of it, and Chahar with the new ball if things
Mm.
fall in place. I think fast bowling will be under scrutiny again. That's why, and with the spinners not going to have such a major impact, it's going to
Yeah.
be a very tough season for Chennai unless the batting does something extraordinary. And Moin has a good season. I think Moin will be a very key member this season.
Yeah.
It'll be down to Moin and the fast bowlers to step up because I don't see a lot of games where spinners are going to have a big role in
Mm.
Mumbai. The Delhi games are something we should win 4 out of 4.
Yeah.
If we had to have a chance. But at the moment, to be honest, I don't see a lot of chances for Chennai.
Well, there you had it, Chennai fans. I mean, you had it great all these years. It's okay. It's okay to feel like RCB fans for a couple of years. Won't do any harm. But watch this IPL season, folks. This might as well be the last season that you would ever see Dhoni pad up. Looking forward to that, at least for that. Just good luck to Chennai fans and good luck to Dhoni fans with this season. And hope we have some entertainment. That's it for this podcast. Thank you very much, Prashant, for joining here.
Thank you. Thank you. My
Till we
pleasure.
see you next time again with another episode. Stay tuned, subscribe, like, share. Bye, everyone.